one of my favorite things about the format is I feel like we're never waiting for games to begin. And this is an opening that I feel like Nepo said, oh, that was an interesting match that you played against Alireza. Let me play every single opening the exact same way. One thing I noticed about this is that he got his pawn to a5, right? The white pawn is on a5. Now, our viewers might not remember yesterday's matches, but all you need to know is that Hikaru and Alireza were playing this exact opening back and forth, over and over, so many times that Hikaru always had his pawn on a5. And this looks like Jan watched that match and said, okay, maybe I can put my pawn there and try for an advantage.
Yeah, and this rook on a1 and the knight on b1 and the bishop on c1, I have those flashbacks of Hikaru not developing its knight. Oh, thank you. But actually, did I say Hikaru? What? But Jan was
Alireza.
Alireza. Ooh. Wow.
Yeah. Well, he's clearly looked at the match, right? So he's obviously looked at the position. He said these are the improvements, and he's implementing them. It's not to say that just gives him a huge advantage. Obviously, in this position, look, the eval is even trending Hikaru's way. So Hikaru knows the position just inside and out, right? This is something he's studied, he's prepared. So just because Jan has looked at the match and saw some improvements doesn't mean that Hikaru's in trouble. Quite the opposite, in fact.
Yeah, and now when we see the knight coming to d7, we can probably highlight that it's going to f8, protecting the bishop, potentially moving this d-pawn, also sometimes to g6 and then going to f4, Aman's favorite square that he always fears of and has nightmares about.
Literally, nightmares. The f4 square is always a good one to keep in mind. We've been talking quite a lot on these broadcasts about how knights perform very, very well there. Also, so much pressure on the bishop on e6. The queen on a2, bishop on b3 are doing quite well, but you're starting to see that in Nepo's position, the moves are maybe not as obvious. We're seeing a lot of knight maneuvers, right? It feels like his position is not changing that much. Meanwhile, Hikaru, in my opinion, is achieving a little bit more with his moves. Rooks to the middle, the bishop has tucked itself away on f8, allowing, as you're pointing out, both rooks to have that full scope down the center of the board. So I do think that Hikaru's position has been improving at a better rate than Nepo's, and that's because I think he's got some easy moves to play.
Yeah, and it just needless to say that Hikaru's game here is perfect. All his pieces are in the ultimate harmony. You know, sometimes when you don't know what to do, you gotta ask yourself, what is my worst piece? And when I look at Hikaru's position, I simply don't see any bad piece at all.
That's right. Yeah, always a great piece of advice. If you're looking at a position and it feels so confusing, try to improve the piece that you can identify as doing the least. And in this case, it's probably tough for both players because they're following that advice, but now all their pieces look good. So what do you do? Maybe white could play rook a to d1, certainly a move that comes to mind right in the middle. There's always h3 or g3 for white to consider, just a move on that side of the board to give the king some space. But apart from that, there's going to be big decisions. Who wants to take in the center first?
get some fun in the time scramble.
Always, yeah. Time scrambles can decide absolutely everything. Hikaru, I mean, he has lots of checks. D1 is available. You can always push the pawn. Instead, he goes for f6. Interesting. Queen, maybe knight d3, threatening queen e4 check.
Ooh, that is very nasty. Queen c6, how about that?
But then, honestly, I would consider queen e4 there. I know it's trading, but I wonder if it's possible to make it happen. Queen e4, and guys, there's only a minute left. The nerves are hitting both players here. No increment chess. Hikaru is up 2 pawns, but yeah, Nepomniachtchi, a fighter to the very end, is still making threats.
Okay, how about we need to move our knight. We need to bring the knight to the game. So obviously, bishop f8.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all. Bishop f8 played. I mean, the computer's probably going to hate all the moves that are about to happen, but they make sense to me. Bishop f8 is a safety move.
Knight c3, but isn't that a blunder of a pawn? But no, but because we are up another pawn, and here we are in my dream endgame, a queen and a knight.
But wait a minute, Hikaru can lose here if he's not careful. Knight, f4 to g6, the light squares are super weak. In general, there's, easy moves for the white queen to make. Hikaru has definitely messed this up, and he's even down on time. You could get ambitious for a win here as Nepo.
Yeah, and I do want to highlight that the queen and the knight are stronger than the queen and the bishop, because whenever the knight is near the king, there are absolutely no checks, but that's not the reason. The main reason is because there's nothing that the bishop can do that the queen cannot, but that's not the same for the knight.
And look at this, Hikaru is definitely making some progress here. He's hitting the h-pawn, he's bringing the queen in as well. There's no checks for white, there's some threats on g1. This is looking like Hikaru down on time, but better on the position. I don't even know which side I would prefer here.
I'll tell you this right now, we are definitely in Hikaru's comfort zone because he is the king of swindles and time scrambles.
There's queen f8. This is a huge move. I don't even know if he missed this. He's laughing. I mean, this just looks like a draw. He's laughing there. I guess he just missed it, and obviously pausing for a second is Nepo to see if there's more than that. I mean, Hikaru's just uncontrollably laughing here. I don't think he saw that.
Yeah, and he has no choice because king h5 would be met by the checkmating to